Real News Radio. True, honest, and not fake news. Now, as we go into this much warmer week, into the spring, we've also had a lot happening in the news recently. But first, I want to introduce you guys my guest this week. Returning is the right-wing hippie, the one and only right-wing hippie. Vincent, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
That was quite a segue.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, we went for the nice weather. I mean, hippies like nice
Speaking of
weather.
weather, let's go into the news.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's not really looking good in London. We had that terrorist attack that happened a few days ago where a man drove his car on the Westminster Bridge and then started hitting people with it. And then he crashed into the gate outside Parliament, stabbed a police officer, tried to run away, but then was shot on the scene. 5 people are dead now. They're up to including the terrorists. 50 people injured. And he didn't use a gun the whole time. Imagine my shock.
Wait, Sean, are you telling me that the gun-free zone didn't protect people?
I don't think it did. I don't know.
Wow. Well, it's certainly not to make light of this scenario.
No.
This is sickening. The police officer was shot. He was I believe a British Army veteran.
Yeah.
But some police officers are not allowed to carry weapons. Most of their police officers are not even allowed to carry guns, and so he had no way of defending himself against the attacker with the knife. Now, if you've heard about this story, you may have heard about the fact that all of the major news sources in London and Britain were calling this man Asian.
Yeah, I saw that first, yeah.
That is... apparently, that means something different for the Britain and I guess maybe the rest of Europe. It is of meaning of like Pakistani or... like southwestern Asian kind of area when they say Asian. And so, of course, the man was not, in fact, from Asia, but from the Middle East. And since ISIS has claimed the terrorist attack, I believe. And, you know, it's just another attack. I mean, how many more times does this have to happen before people realize that maybe it wasn't a good idea to, bring people that had good reason to have, a lot of animosity towards the West and bring them into the West, where they have easy access to things like cars and Westerners. It strikes me as so obviously a bad idea, and there's so many. I mean, we talked about it 2 weeks ago before spring break. With Sweden, right?
Yeah.
And it's 10 times cheaper to resettle them in the Middle East than it is to bring them to the West. And so if you really want to help these people, the best way is to negotiate with other countries like Saudi Arabia, which Trump has been working on, and try and get them refugee camps and status and safety in the Middle East where they live and where they are, they call home, so that they can easily move back to their homes in the Middle East when the conflicts die down. And it's I could go on forever, but it's so
we only have an hour.
It's sad, and obviously our thoughts are with all of those victims, and we hope that they didn't have to lose their lives in vain. That people will realize that there's something that needs to be done. That this is a problem. This is a fixable problem. Not only that it's a problem, but it's a fixable problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to be clear. Like you said, we're not making fun of these victims. We're not making this out of their deaths. We're mocking these stupid politicians that think through their policies they can solve this. They're flawed policies that they keep trying that don't work. Now, like he said, this guy drove a car, okay? Wasn't a gun. Are we going to have to start doing car-free zones? I mean, are we start kind of ban cars?
Yeah.
I mean, people don't realize that you can do so much damage with a car.
Yeah, I mean, and with
Yeah.
there was that booklet or whatever information kit by ISIS
Yeah,
that was
they
downloaded
told you to do it.
50,000 times instructing people to use large vehicles. I mean, it's like, I mean, you can't solve these kinds of things. But this is the problem. This is what ISIS wants, because the more things like this happen, and the more the politicians who are too politically correct to address the fact that, you know, maybe the problem is the way that they've handled this whole situation, and not, you know, well, it's just because we allow too many things to be legal in this country, like cars, or maybe, you know, kitchen knives are going to be banned next, and maybe just maybe the problem is actually how you're handling the situation. And but what ISIS wants is, so you get the refugees, you get the Middle Easterners that already may or may not have animosity towards the West, but are easily radicalized through the internet, clearly, towards having, you know, animosity towards the West. And what happens? They do things, and what is the politician's response? Okay, well, we need to ban guns. We need more gun-free zones. We need more security. We need, you know, things like the Patriot Act, which I'm not a fan of. Things that take away people's freedoms in these places to make them more aggressive towards the Middle East. Instead of just handling the entire situation better, and targeting the actual threats, and trying to, you know, help people in their own homes, instead of just saying, oh, well, come over here, you know, we have a nice, you know, pretty welfare state, let's, you know, everybody just come in our welfare state and everything will be all jolly. Oh wait, oh no, okay, well, what we really need to do is make things safer in the welfare state. That's what it is. And so, okay, no more kitchen knives, no more cars, no more roads. Everybody's just got to be in their own little padded cell, and they can, you know, spend their days in that, so that they, you know, wouldn't want anyone to accidentally hurt themselves or anyone else. And so once, you know, ISIS wants these politicians to take away their native people's freedoms.
Yes.
And because that, you know, it drives the whole cycle, and so you get more anger, and you get more uprising and more tension, and that is to the advantage. If we handle the entire situation better, and we don't play into the hand of ISIS, then we can, you know, we can solve this with less casualties and more freedom. It's a great thing.
I think that's actually a really good point you made there, is that when they create this fear and the politicians try to react by taking this away, taking that away, that, like you said, they're really taking away more of our freedoms. And I don't think people realize. I mean, some people realize that, but I don't think not enough people. But hey, if you're listening to Mayor, he has you rest assured. You want to hear why? Because he said in a tweet, terrorism is part and parcel. Sorry, I gotta give a British accent first. Terrorism is part and parcel of living in a major city. What? It's normal just to have people killing you. It's just okay, because, you know, that's just the way the city.
No. Maybe crime. Crime, yes, you have a lot of people concentrated in a small area. Yeah, you're going to have more likely tensions growing. But you can't say that terrorism is part and parcel of life in a major city. Because, I mean, there's plenty of major cities in the United States and the rest of Europe that didn't have terrorism problems and still don't have terrorism problems until they brought in lots of people that don't speak the language, that have every reason to have animosity towards the West, and have nothing better to do because they don't speak the language and they can't get a job than sit at home on their welfare-provided computers and look up
Obama
ISIS
computer.
videos. Yeah, Obama computers, except for Merkel computers.
Yeah, they have different ones. I hear, like in Britain, they have the Silicon laptops. I hear they got good processors and whatnot, lots of storage, so you can store all them. I know we make fun of this stuff, but people gotta realize that this is happening in all these European countries. It's happening in America, and it's not getting better. I mean, we do have Trump. I think things are gonna get better here, and Britain may, I don't know,
hopefully they trigger Article 50. Let's get out.
I mean, yeah, they're pushing the
Theresa
Brexit.
May, let's go.
Yeah, they're really
around here.
Yeah, they gotta get that thing rolling so they can have some more independence and make their own laws again.
Control their own borders like any other nation in the world should be able to.
Well, yeah, and like when they do that, what they need to do is, like you were saying before, whereas and I think I said this last time, but I'm going to say it again because people got to hear this. What we should be doing is not saying, hey, refugees, come here. You'll be safe here. We should be saying two main things. One, go back and fight for your country. It's your country. I think you love it. You should love it. Mm-hmm. Fight for it. In America, we've done that like how many times? Our country was brought about in the revolution. I mean, yeah, you can take that at your own perspective, but like we've at least consistently fought for this country. We haven't really, what's the best word to put this? I don't want to say be cowardly, but like right. when someone attacks us, we just don't crowd in our corners or run away. Mm-hmm. Or at least I hope most people don't do that. But what I see, like the second part though of that is, what they need to do is have it the safe zones like Trump's saying, but rebuild your country after you fight for it. Because wouldn't that be great?
Right.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Are we really expecting that all of these refugees and migrants are going to go back to their nations when this whole thing is done? No, it's so far and things are so nice there, and it's easier just to stay in the nice, pretty, shiny Western nations than it is to go rebuild their homes. Yep. Whereas if they were still in the Middle East, then they would have easy access and we'd be able to help them there. And once again, it would be cheaper to do it, so you can help more people for less money. So, I mean, if the goal is to help these people, then it seems an obvious choice to do it in the Middle East, because you can help, once again, more people, less money.
Yeah.
Under budget, ahead of schedule.
We're going to make Syria under budget, ahead of schedule, people.
Yeah, I mean, but seriously, though, like, you can't... If your goal is to help the most amount of people possible, you can't bring them to the West. That's just not the way to do it.
Yeah, and especially since their culture's in Syria. It's not in the UK. I mean, now it's kind of becoming there with these areas. But I think that makes them happier, I think, if they're living with their people in their country.
Places where they speak the language.
Exactly.
Or a dialect that's closer to the language than English. It just doesn't... none of it makes any sense at all. And so I think that people should be more critical. I doubt there's very many people from England listening to this, but just make sure if you've got an English friend, ask them about it. Say what's up,
dude across the pond, listen up. Your Americans are going to tell you how to make Britain great again. But yeah. On that note of something not making sense, we're going to move on to something else that doesn't make sense, but in this country. And that's to deal with, in the past couple of days, we had Comey give a hearing, and we also had the chairman of the House Intel Committee, Nunes, come out and do a press conference. Came out really nowhere. But we're going to go one by one here. First, we're going to go with Comey. Comey said basically what we got out of this, which is pretty unnecessary, but he basically said... they're investigating Trump, the FBI, and they're investigating Russian hacking, and they're investigating, Trump campaign as a whole. He also said that there was no surveillance done by Obama, but he did not directly actually say there was no surveillance.
I have no information. What a wonderful politician.
Yeah.
James Comey, 2024.
Oh, he'd be great at it, because you notice with him, he words things. He has to do it. Politician. Yeah, he is. And to be fair, you gotta be careful when you're dealing with what he's dealing with. But at the same time, you gotta be
able to say the FBI is not. If you're the head of the FBI, you should be able to say categorically the FBI is not. Wiretapping Trump, or Trump has never wiretapped Trump Tower, but he has to say, I don't have information that suggests that Trump is being like, okay.
Or he'll use the pronoun we. You notice that too? Yeah. That's a broad. People don't realize how broadly that can use, because you could be saying we as the FBI.
Me, like my assistant.
Me and Joe here.
Wasn't Sally at the reception desk? She wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it. So he parses his words very carefully. He's skilled. The part that everyone seems to forget is that he said, "We've found nothing."
Yeah.
He said we're investigating Trump, and at this point we've found nothing. Now, first of all, why did you have to mouth off about an open investigation? That is something that I believe Trump has the right, just like every other citizen, to have that be not disclosed as it's an active investigation, and that can complicate things. So I don't know why he said anything about it in the first place. And then also talking about the investigation, but except for what he said about the investigation was we didn't find anything yet. I just don't know what his motive here is, other than just like I think he genuinely just likes like seeing. Like he got bored or something, and he's like, you know what? I need to create some news, which a lot of people on the left were saying that about when he came out, saying, oh, we're investigating Hillary Clinton again, ha! Guess what, guys? And I was like,
October surprise.
What? Yeah, October surprise. It was on my birthday, actually.
Oh, he was thinking of you.
Yeah. And everybody was like, why is he doing this? I don't know. I don't really care right now because it's this is quite devastating for Clinton. But anyway, I just don't know. Just why he's like just such an attention. Finish that.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Don't worry, you all know the word. I do too.
I don't know what is his motive here. Like this can't possibly aid him in his carrying out of the duties as the head of the FBI.
Yeah.
Like what was he trying to get? Like the 4chaners to help him out with the investigation because they're probably better than he is anyway.
Dude, did you see him?
Can we replace all the national security agencies with 4chaners?
Yes.
I would feel so much safer.
Well, they're good.
Like, I don't even care if they're looking through my stuff. Like, I know they're good guys.
Well,
I'd rather put my tax dollars towards them. It'd probably work for just Red Bull and Doritos.
Yes. Well, see, the funny thing is, you say that, but you saw what they did to Shia's flag. They did it again.
I know.
2 times in a row. The first time.
Why did he put it up again? Like, you just go like
did he learn?
It's like a cartoon where you're sitting there and you're watching it and like, this is absurd. No one actually does this. And then it's like, no. Then there's people like Shia LaBeouf that are like, oh, I got him this time. It's like freaking what's it? Tom and Jerry, the cat that keeps trying to get that mouse.
Yeah,
and it just comes up with new plots every time. It's like at some point, don't you learn?
Yeah. It's a cyclical cycle because like you looked the first time the 4chaners got him, and guys, if you haven't seen this yet, I don't know what you've been doing because this has been the greatest news of the whole year by a long shot. Nothing comes close to the trolling done to Shia LaBeouf because they first saw his flag. Shia thought he was clever. He's like, aha, it's against the sky. They ain't gonna see it. But they found the freaking plane lines that they're making, the trajectories. They're looking at the stars, and they were able to take that, put it on the map, and find where the location was based on like flight maps.
Yeah, like that's just Ben Shapiro was great about this. He's like these people need to go like cure cancer or something like that. He's like seriously. He's like, evidently there's a lot of very very intelligent people unemployed on 4chan.
There's many unintelligent people in your mother's basement. You probably didn't know it, but it's true.
Yeah.
We found it out because like even this time, I think I have to double check with this. But when I first saw his
disenfranchised Bernie voters,
basement dwellers,
basement dwellers.
They're out there, people. They're everywhere. But they like this time, because I saw on his site, he said it was part of like the Liverpool like art. This was supporting it. I'm like, dude, you just gave it away. Like you're actually like unlearning what you learned didn't learn last time.
He's like no, only trolls exist. All the trolls exist in the United States. That none of them can possibly be from other countries. It's not like general distaste for political correctness and bureaucracy is a global phenomena or anything.
Dude, polls got on the people on the ground everywhere. They're everywhere. It's like anonymous,
Everywhere you look.
Maybe even in this studio.
Oh my gosh.
You don't know. We're going to talk about something real quick for 5 minutes because then we're going to go to break, but we got to mention it. Neil Gorsuch.
Ooh, yeah.
Spicy.
Ooh, what a guy.
What a guy. That's
love that guy. So if you're stuck under a rock somewhere, Neil Gorsuch was Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court to replace Antonin Scalia. And he is an originalist, which means he reads the Constitution as it was read when people signed it, when, the country was founded and stuff. And so, a basic analogy for this that I think, explains originalism well is like, if you sign a contract with somebody and then the language kind of changes, not in the contract, but like the meaning of some word that is in the contract
culture.
Changes, how does that a contract apply? So if all of a sudden, when you say, a few, if that used to mean 2, if the contract says a few somewhere and then it used to mean 2 and now it means like 3 or 4,
right?
What is the contract actually referring to? Is it referring to what you understood when you signed the contract, or is it referring to whatever it means now just because the language changed? Now, most reasonable people would say, well, no, it meant 2 because when you signed it, you understood it to mean 2. The word few is just a simple example. And so, the same thing can be applied to the Constitution, the United States Constitution, over, the hundreds of years that it's been since its signing, or 200 years. I'm so bad with it.
I thought I was supposed to be bad at math.
But regardless, it's meant to be read as it was understood when it was signed.
Yeah.
And if you've got a change to make to it, then you make an amendment.
Yeah.
Then if you don't like something in the Constitution, tough luck until you get that amendment through. You can't just reinterpret it.
Yeah.
It's not a living document. So that's what people mean when they say it's a living document. It means it's a blank document. And so I'm very much in support of Judge Neil Gorsuch as the newest Supreme Court justice, and I'm very happy. He was quite savage in his retorts on that 9 straight hours of interrogation
Grilling
by the bunch of silly leftists. What was the guy?
Al Franken.
Al Franken.
Yeah. Dude, that clip is great.
He tries to educate a Harvard Harvard professor who taught at Harvard law. He tries to educate him and a justice. He's already a judge, obviously.
Yeah.
He was calling Judge Neil Gorsuch on the Constitution. Like, what are you doing? And then when he starts to respond, he's like, "Oh, no, we don't have time for that." It's like, we don't. It's 9 hours, dude. You couldn't fit in a explanation of why you're kind of a moron.
You can fill that word too, people.
Or is it maybe that he was kind of explaining and making you look silly, and so you didn't want him to continue talking? So you should look up those clips. They're spicy.
Yes, spicy approved. Because I think it's I mean a lot of politicians I think are arrogant, but he was especially arrogant because he comes in there and he's like, I know what's going on here. I know this stuff. I know this. I really do, and you really don't. And then he just, when he gets embarrassed, like you say, he goes, "Oh, we don't have time for that." And he kind of shuffles his papers.
Yeah, he does that every time. Then he's like, "Oh, we actually, there's nothing on those papers. What are you talking about?
Don't need that."
Those papers are blank. There's no way you have 30 pages of anything to ask this guy. You're just coming up with questions to try and trip him up.
Yeah, and to be fair, any justice that has to go through that is hard. To go through 9 hours of, like you said, interrogation, it's hard. But at the same time, make it entertaining. Make it worthwhile.
And he did.
Yeah. So I thank some of these politicians for being stupid, because then we got something out of it. But try to be more intelligent, because you're actually running this country partially, so I'd hope they were somewhat intelligent.
And I just loved some of the later ones where he's just getting annoyed.
Yeah, he's getting annoyed.
He's like, all the information is in the Heller case. Why are you asking me this? He's like, I am a judge. I understand what my job is. Why are you still telling me to respond, to tell you my view? My view doesn't matter. My job is to read the Constitution, read the law, and figure out the facts. And the people, the politicians, from Democrats, almost exclusively trying to get him to say something dumb oh, well, actually, what? I think that women are lesser human beings. Oh, wait, oops. What were you I don't know what they were expecting out of this.
Yeah, and that's, I think, because we're going to go to break in 1 second, but I'm going to leave it because that was a great point. That I think I want to reiterate real quickly is that he, with his, like you said, constitutionalist, originalist views, he's not trying to put his private opinions into this.
Of course, so many times.
Yeah, he said it repeatedly. And the Heller versus DC?
Yeah.
Everybody should look that case up, because that's a really important case that our generation doesn't really know about. We're going to go through a couple more interesting topics today, starting with the big news of the week. Second biggest news after the London attacks was the Ryancare dying right before it even got into the vote. And yes, we are going to be calling it Ryancare here, because that is what it is. People are trying to label it Trump care, but Trump was smart not to put his name on it, and I think it was somewhat intentional. But basically, if you're still living under a rock, don't know about Shia, and if you don't know about this, Ryan and Trump pulled the bill at the last minute. I was shocked to actually see that because I forgot you could even do that. It's somewhat unusual. Maybe it's been done. I just haven't been paying attention to C-SPAN enough, but Trump claims that they were short 5 to 12 votes. Personally, I feel it's more than that, but that's what he said to a Washington Post reporter.
The entire Freedom Caucus was not going to vote for that. So
yeah.
That's like 30, 40 votes right there.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of people. And he blamed on the Democrats. He said they had no Democratic votes. He also listed some other reasons. But Nancy Pelosi came out. I can't believe she said this. She said, "Today's a great day for our country." And I'm like, you stupid idiot. I'm sorry, but now you have Obamacare back. And that's not good because the people that vote for Trump don't like Obamacare for the most part. It sucked for them. And now you're going to be touting this, saying this is great. It's a great day. We have Obamacare back in our hands. Oh, this is great. And like Trump says, it's going to implode. It's going to explode, like literally in their hands. They're going to see it explode in their face. And they're going to be owning it now. I know Trump has said this, but I've thought this from the very beginning, that if they keep this bill with them, it's going to be, they're literally shooting themselves in the foot. Like every day it goes by. Just keep shooting yourself in the foot. Just bang, bang, bang. This is just, they're killing themselves. They're going to lose more seats. The Republicans are going to come out probably even better than before. Some say this is a good thing because we'll get a better bill. So it hopefully will be a more bipartisan support, but it's not going to happen.
The problem is basically that anything Trump supports, the Democrats will unanimously oppose. There has yet to be a single Democrat that has said, well, you know what, if Trump opposed this, I'd vote for it.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of how, whether any of his policies are to the left or not, and some of them are. Like his infrastructure plan, that's not going to get voted on by a single Democrat just because they hate him.
And that's stupid.
And it's just absolutely ridiculous because they oppose him out of spite. And that is going to get old for their constituents very fast. And I think that's the important part here. And if they keep doing that, if they keep just, okay, well, Trump proposed this, so we have to vote no, regardless of whether or not we agree with it, regardless of whether or not it's the best thing for our constituents or not. And eventually that is going to, manifest in backlash, and especially in the 2018 elections. And they're going to lose seats. Now, the question is, what's going to happen to the next proposal? Is it going to go to the left, and is it going to go to the right?
Yeah.
Now, Sean thinks it's going to go to the left, and I think it's going to go to the right because Rand Paul's healthcare plan, which I'm more of a fan of, has gotten, which is further the right, has gotten the endorsement of the Freedom Caucus, and I'm pretty sure it already had the endorsement of the Liberty Caucus because he's basically the head of the Liberty Caucus.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like solid 50-60 votes right there. And so it's definitely going to come up for a vote. Whether it passes or not will depend on whether or not Trump can convince enough of the more centrist Republicans to support it and send it to the Senate, where it's going to have probably maybe a harder time because I think they tend to be a little bit more center, and they'll probably get some manipulations done to it there. But we'll hope for the best. I'm hoping that it gives more freedom, less government interference. I always hope for that, and I strongly support Rand Paul's bill, and I hope that goes through. But
yeah,
see, what were you thinking?
See, I've conflicted because I was really confused when Trump was backing this because he was basically. I remember when he hired Tom Price for his Secretary of Health. I think that's his position. Yeah, he said, "Oh, I've been working on a bill for years. This is gonna be the greatest bill ever." And he had like this bill. I remember him talking about it. It wasn't too public or in the headlines that much, but he was talking about. But then all of a sudden, I thought, that's what he's going to go for. But then all of a sudden, Ryan has his plan. Ryan, he's got his nice little pretty pictures on. It's all in color. He's got a TV showing it. He's like, oh, look at me. To me, it looked a little silly, actually.
Trying to get the younger support. No, you get the younger support with freedom.
Yes, I agree. But I didn't understand why he was supporting it the whole time. And he, Trump said later, he just, he thought he was part of the Republican team. He was supporting it because it's their bill. But to an extent, it wasn't his. And they said, a lot of his stuff was, in the other phases, which I didn't understand how that works.
It doesn't make any sense to me because, Paul Ryan's the big, we got to cut back on entitlements guy.
Yeah.
He's the one person who's, under 70. And, but anyway, he's like, yeah, we've got to cut back this, big government entitlement spending. And his bill basically reinforces the giant entitlement that Obamacare was.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so I'm glad it failed. I hope that Rand Paul can get Trump on board, or Trump can figure out that Rand Paul's bill is probably the best solution. And obviously it's not going to be what it is now. It's going to have lots of changes. Probably it's going to move further to the center. But if we can start from a good place of freedom, maybe we'll keep some of it.
Well, what you're saying is what I, like Vince said earlier, that I defer on him on. Trump has had this. I'm going to be basically paraphrasing what Scott Adams' analysis was, because when he said it kind of blew my mind. But then I thought maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. And I've realized that Trump does this before, and I'll give some examples, but I'm going to paraphrase what he said, because I think it's an interesting perspective, if anything. Trump, okay, we're going to wind the clocks back to the campaign. He started off by saying, deport all illegals, Muslim ban. Those are two big things he said. You can agree with that or not, but those were his positions. He was a very moderate candidate, but he had some little more conservative positions, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
In the mix.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, and I think everybody can agree with that. But then with immigration, now he's kind of pivoted a little more. He's kind of said, okay, the Dreamers, they can probably stay, but we're still going to build the wall.
Get the bad guys out.
We're going to get the bad guys out. Yeah, exactly. So you see he went from the far right and moved more to the middle. Muslim ban. He first said Muslim ban. To be honest with you, I didn't really support that. But then as he moved to the middle, I supported it more. Because he then said, we're going to do extreme vetting. It's going to be certain countries, and it's not just an all-out Muslim ban. And like he said before, it's temporary, and it's still temporary. So he moved more to the middle. Mm-hmm. Scott Adams coined, I don't know if this is the term used for it, but he says it's called pacing and leading, where you get a extreme position, you kind of rally a crowd towards you, but then you lead them and pace them to a more moderate position. So you start out as the leader, and then you pace them into a leader, let's say on the far right or far left, and move them to the middle. Now with this healthcare thing, what he was saying he did is that, like I said, you have three options. You can either put a plan out that's in the middle, that's in the left, or it's in the right. There's really no in between. He has to pick one. So what Trump did was he did what he did before, which he said, okay, little Ryan, I'll support your plan. We're going to start on the right. I mean, some people think it's not that hard, right? But
actually, that's what I think. So, if I might, interrupt.
Yeah.
You've described the policies that on immigration specifically.
Yeah.
That Trump is probably on the extreme end of the conservative spectrum for those policies, and so what he did, I 100% agree. He leads. If you're haggling with somebody, when you're trying to get a lower price on something, if you're in a market or something, or on vacation, whatever, you say, and it's like a vase or something, and you want to pay like $50 for it. You don't say I want to pay $50. You say, can I get it for $40? And they say
yes.
55, and you say 45, and they say 50, and you get it for 50. That was your original price. So that it's basically what Trump's doing here. However, that's applicable to the aspects where he's to the extreme end, but he's more to the center on this, and a lot of the people that voted for him, the Blue Dog Democrats, the kind of like, we're like, hey, you know, we've been screwed by this party, let's give this guy a try. They're more to the center, and so he's trying to please them by taking what was a lot of people that were elected, you know, the Tea Party movement people that were elected is specifically to repeal Obamacare, clean repeal, and he's moving them to the left. And so I think he's starting for the Republican base, he's starting at the left's end of the spectrum, and it's going to move right because he is more center on this issue.
Yeah,
and so I don't think that he's going to move to the left. I think he's actually going to move to the right, but he's still doing the same thing. He's just moving it to
backwards.
left, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. But I understand that in order for him to maintain the kind of popularity he has to do some of these things. He has to maintain support with a lot of the members, you know, the people in America that do currently rely on government health care or things like that. And it's mostly an aesthetic thing because you know, if he's like doing if he clean repeals, it might be the best thing in the long run, but in the short run, it's probably going to mean he doesn't get reelected in 4 years. So I understand it's politics. Personally, I would rather have a clean repeal, but I do think it's going to move to the right because of what he's got to work with. He essentially, as we said before, he doesn't have a single Democrat to work with.
Yeah.
Because none of them are going to support anything he does, even if he were to turn into an SJW tomorrow.
Garrett Johnson.
They would never support anything he does, so he's essentially only got the Republican aspects of government to work with, and so I think they're going to drag him to the right, or at least he's going to lead them to a more reasonable or more center position on that, at the healthcare.
Yeah, because I want to reiterate what you said before, which is, about like the business example you give. You gotta realize he's a businessman and he's operating in a business mindset, and most people don't know that mindset and they don't get it. So when he does stuff and everybody's like all confused, and then he comes out on top. That's the genius of him, is that everybody he's working with are mostly lawyers that couldn't make it in the real world, so they became politicians, and then the public, who's a mix of everything. So he kind of circumvents it that way, and I think does 4D chess at a masterful level. But I had to sneak that in there. But like what Scott Adams was saying, I think is smart, where, when he starts at an extreme, basically, the only direction he can pull people is to the middle, and the left will support it then because it's better than what they were proposing before. But, and here's the big but, which kind of ruins Scott Adams' theory, which works most of the time, is that he doesn't need the left in this case. He just needs the right. So that's where you're starting to persuade me. We got a master persuader sitting across from me, playing some 5D chess here, is making me realize that maybe he did something so in the middle and support something in the middle that it would push it to the right, because then he'd get the conservatives on board, because they'd be like, oh, this is better. I mean,
he's haggling to the middle on this issue, whereas the immigration stuff, he usually haggles to the extreme end.
Yeah.
Or leads, you could say. I didn't listen to the
Pace
Scott
and
Adams
leads.
thing. Paces. He's pacing to the center, whereas he usually paces, or on the immigration, he paces out to the right.
Yeah.
Flailing my arms around, hitting random things in the studio.
You're like Birdie right here. You're like, your shoulders are going to start rising up next thing you know it. But yeah, I think people should read Scott Adams' blog, just because like there's so many people, they're like in a hysteria right now. They're like, Trump's literally Hitler, and he's going to like, start camps in, Kansas, and he's going to be marching illegals. And no, he's not, people.
That would be awful.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. And nobody
wants camps in Kansas. Like,
yeah.
Make it in, Soho or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, come on, people.
Can all of California be like concentrated?
Okay. Annex California. That was a joke, people. That was a joke. But what we're getting at, what we're joking about this for, is because people like George I can't say his last name, or Taki, however you want to say his last name. He's all out there like, oh my God, they didn't start with the Japanese camps. That's not how it started. I'm like, dude, we live in a totally different world.
We're
It's not World War
with
II.
Mexico.
Yeah, we're not World War III because we didn't elect Hillary, so I
Yeah.
don't see the panic. But
I mean, and like it's not like the left would care then because it would just be white people in concentration camps.
see, Vinny jokes, but people people on Tumblr.
I mean, they'd probably be the ones doing it.
No
Oh,
joke.
like they were the last time. Oops.
That's a joke. FDR was a Democrat. More TIL today. Today I learned. Yeah, today I learned. Sorry, I'm bad with acronyms today. But what was I gonna say?
FDR concentration camps.
Yeah.
Oh wait, everything bad that's ever happened in this country has been done by the left. Oops.
All right, Vince, calm it down. Well, you're not wrong
I'm
with
not
some
wrong.
things. I mean, you're not wrong. But that's the thing is, I just wish people would calm themselves down for a second. Listen to a smooth voice like Scott Adams or me. Or Vince.
Just get hypnotized by Scott.
Yeah, because like you listen to his blogs, or you can't listen to a blog. Read his blogs and listen to his periscopes.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a lot of sense on some things. And if you want good that encompasses basically all his views, watch his Joe Rogan interview on YouTube. Joe Rogan I really like because he's kind of he's kind of a libertarian, kind of on the left, kind of on the right. I like him for that because he can be fair, funny, interesting kind of guy and challenge people's viewpoints at the same time. So I really like him, even as a right-winger that I am, even though I'm not that right-wing. But I would definitely say check that interview out. If you have friends that are under Trump derangement syndrome, go to Dr. Scott Adams and show them that they're being induced by cognitive dissonance.
He's not actually a doctor.
No, he's not a doctor. But
I wasn't sure if he had a PhD.
No, I'm just trying to make a beautiful metaphor here. But any last words on this? If not, we're going to move on to the next topic.
I can't think of anything.
You can't? Philosopher Vince can't think of something?
Well, I mean, I can think of lots of things. I can't think of anything that's short.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding with you. But the main reason I wanted Vince to come in today is because he is the editor-in-chief of a brand new publication on campus.
It's not really on campus. It's on.
Okay, it's everywhere, but it is
everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's like the 4chans. They're everywhere. But this is like, I guess could you use the word startup with this? Like it's starting up here.
Sure.
It makes it sound like smarter that way because it's already a smart thing. I love what he's doing, but I gotta make it sound even smarter. But
tell me what it is.
Yeah. State Patriot is this online.
TheStatePatriot.com.
Actually, I'll let you talk about it. What am I doing? I'm the host here. You're the guest.
TheStatePatriot.com. Once again, TheStatePatriot.com is a journalistic publication that is it's set up by I'm the editor-in-chief. We've got a few other people working for us regularly, or not working, writing journals, and just it's made up of students that are annoyed with the blatant bias that is demonstrated by the majority of campus journalism. And now it's campus journalism, of course, but these are people. These are people that will go into the real world having experienced nothing but, public schools and then a bunch of leftist, journalistic publications. And maybe they don't look at CNN. Maybe
fake news.
Yeah, fake news, CNN.
Very
or
fake
maybe
news.
They probably don't look at Fox, so they've never heard anything other than what is essentially a wildly, blatantly Democrat biased, liberal biased point of view. And so what I'm trying to do is create an alternative. And I'm not saying we are the only objective news source. I'm not even saying we're an objective news source. I am addressing the fact that we have an alternative bias, and everybody has a bias, and so we're acknowledging that we have our bias, and we hope that in time, although it's kind of unreasonable, the other publications like maybe the Collegian and the Underground will acknowledge that they don't, if they've got some conservatives on the staff, there's air quotes around them, and
call them out.
They're really just liberals with rich parents, And so
you're not wrong.
I'm not going to name names.
Please
don't. Anyway, so we're conservative students. We are trying to tell the events that go around on campus and around the world that are important. We're trying to tell them in the best way that we know how, acknowledging that we have a bias, just like everybody else has a bias, but our bias is different from the bias that you'll get at the other college news publications.
Right.
So that's it. Once again, thestatepatriot.com. Check it out. We've got a few articles up there.
Cool.
More to come as things unfold and as we get better set up. If you like it, I believe there's a comment feature. There's ways you can follow us on Twitter, and you can like our Facebook page. All that is available on the website. And by all means, you can hate it if you don't like it. I'm not telling you have to like it. I'm not telling you it's objective news. Once again, I'm telling you that it is an alternative to the general consensus, because the general consensus on colleges, for whatever reason, seems to be wildly skewed to the left, and I think that's a shame. And I'm trying to do the best that I can to get alternative ideas. And at the very least, maybe I'm wrong about everything I think, but at the very least, all the people that get to check this out, they can find out what the other people think instead of building these caricatures in their mind about racist, homophobic,
the white Christian racist with his Bible and his gun, and then the left-leaning Prius driving hippie Californian with blue hair and overweight arms, stomach and thighs, and there's two. I think that's because we're getting on a tangent here, but I think people make those caricatures of the right wing journalism, the left wing. So from what I understand, you guys are trying to be a sort of alternative to the mainstream media, Penn State, the Collegian, the Underground.
I like it. Alternative to the fake news. Penn State. Fake news.
Oh, you're calling it
out fake news. This is not real news. This is fake news.
Ooh, yeah. Well, this is Real News Radio, so we bring the realest news here. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's I wanted to bring him on just to talk about that, because I think I think we should all be informed on. And
even if you don't agree with any of it, go check it out.
Exactly.
And, hopefully, if you really are as smart as you think you are, you'll be able to say why I'm wrong. And then next time somebody comes with up to you with the wrong opinions, then you'll be able to at least understand what they're saying, and be able to correct them. In the worst case scenario that I'm wrong about everything, you're better prepared. There's no losing here. Just go check it out. It's wonderful.
It's wonderful. And I'm not promoting the same way, but I think everybody, it's a healthy habit to just pick up the paper every day. Yeah. I mean,
and the same goes for people on the right too. You can't just I look at the New York Times every once in a while, even though it usually makes my skin crawl. And I do it just because I don't want to be in my own bubble. I don't want to be in my own echo chamber, and I don't want anyone to be in their own echo chamber, because when we don't hear things that we disagree with, then we respond to them with violence. And that's what I don't want to happen, because I am not a violent person. I have different opinions from a lot of people. I, in fact, believe that my opinions are less violent. And so I think that the most important thing is to have open conversations and to hear other people's views. And so hopefully you could go check that out, thestatepatriot.com. It's actually, I'm building it up like it's going to be this crazy, wildly right wings. It's not. It's pretty moderate, actually.
It's Breitbart. Yeah. It's Breitbart. If Breitbart and InfoWars had a baby, it'd be this.
If Breitbart and InfoWars had a baby, this would be on the right side of the debate with that baby. No, it's not that.
I think that's just an important lesson, that everybody just needs to turn off your Fox News, turn off your CNN, just try something different. I mean, even if it's blatantly biased,
unless you normally listen to CNN, in which I guess turn on Fox News, and if you normally listen to Fox News, then turn on CNN.
Or if you're really bored, watch some C-SPAN, because you'll get even more bored.
Oh yeah.
We have a few minutes.
Whatever you do, don't support public radio.
Whoa. Calling out
socialized program. Stop.
Call out that NPR right there.
Yeah. And PBS.
Yeah.
Down with PBS. Abolish PBS.
No, the only good thing on PBS is Sherlock, but that's technically BBC. And then technically that you can get on Blu-ray and DVD, so. They used to have Top Gear, but we all know what happened with
That's
that.
BBC, not PBS.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about BBC.
Oh,
yeah.
well, I don't care what the British taxpayers pay for.
Yeah, but then, like, you see, even when they do it, they screw it up. Like, Top Gear was amazing. Then Clarkson punched the guy.
This is such a tangent.
Yeah, this is such a tangent.
Check out thestatepatriot.com.
Yeah.
There's no public funding going to that, so don't worry.
Ooh, okay. Well, on that note, thank you for coming in as our very special guest. This was the right-wing hippie, a.k.a. Vincent, a.k.a. some other name. I'm going to come up with him next week. Thank you for listening to Real News Radio. We'll come back at you next week with some more real news, not fake news. Thank you for listening, people.